help me understand who the next question on this list is the best quarterbacks coming into next season. Give me 3 to 5 that you think. I've got a couple myself.
Well, I kind of want to frame that question a little bit different because last year, if you would asked me who the top five quarterbacks coming into next year, I would have said Kate Klubnik. I would have said Drew Aller. I would have
Yeah.
said Arch Manning. I would have said, um, oh my gosh, there's other names that I'm just thinking of. DJ Lagway. Like, just not obviously, literally all of those guys literally just either had a horrible season or the team was bad or both.
Mhm.
And so I have five sleeper quarterbacks who I think could make a big jump into next year. I kind of rephrased the question a little bit. So if you have just your best quarterbacks, and that's okay. But my five quarterbacks going to next year that have either transferred or are in new situations, or I think they're just going to take a step up. The first one I think is an obvious answer. JKS from Cal, Jaron Keyway, Sakapula. He has a chance to be the best quarterback in the nation next year. Maybe the stats won't back it up, but he's clearly high on draft boards when
Mhm.
he enters the draft in 2028. Byron Brown, the kid from USF who's now at Auburn, I think he has a really good chance to bring some juice back to this program. Kind of like a hard-nosed, tough football player. He's very small, but he's electric, and then that's kind of what works in college football. Rocco Becht at Penn State, I think he has a chance to have a good season at Penn State. Iowa State last year, who we'll be rooting for this year, of course, was a decent team. And Will Campbell, I think, is a good coach. I think everything just gets heightened at Penn State, and now you're in the Big Ten, and now your rivals are now some of the best teams in the country: Indiana, Oregon, Ohio State. So we'll see what happens. I think he has a chance to have a really good season. Kevin Jennings at SMU has a chance to have SMU return back to the playoffs. I think he was a good quarterback last year. SMU just took a really big dip as far as just their execution. I think the coaching wasn't very great. I expected them last year to kind of be in that mix in the ACC, and they just weren't. And I think the ACC, with being kind of a down conference, will have you have a question about an ACC team later on that we'll get to, and then Devin Dampier from Utah, who was supposed to have a really good year last year, transferring in from New Mexico, and the team was just okay. And we had preseason ranked top 25. Utah kind of in and out of that all year. But now I think, Utah is a real team. I think they're going to be better than BYU this year. And I think, Devin Dampier is going to be the reason for that. So those are my five kind of sleeper quarterbacks going into next year.
Okay, that's an interesting take on that question. Because and by the way, Byron Brown's 6'3". He's big as hell. You
Yeah.
said he was small. He's a big ass dude. I agree with mostly with that list. I think that there are some guys that I think can make a huge leap. I think Arch Manning obviously could be more consistent start to finish of the season. So that's something I'm going to be watching for. I think Drew Mestemaker, we're going to find out if
Yes.
his production can scale in a power, 4 conference. Again, I don't know how much better the Big 12 is going to be as far as competition goes, but can he bring Oklahoma State back into the conversations where like it was Brandon Whedon was there and they were throwing up numbers, him and I think Justin Blackman was there as well. So that kind of a throwback, but let's see if Oklahoma State can get back to prominence. And then like you mentioned JSK, I like him a lot too. I think that he could be a Heisman candidate. He plays in a conference where like if they're just a little bit better, like they had a chance to win
Yeah.
and beat. I don't remember who it was, but they would have if they would have won, they would have been in the like picture to be in the ACC championship game, and so they could have been a team that got in as well. So like that, I'm looking for them in that as far as like where that production goes. Can he scale to the next level? True freshman played really well. Okay, like do we get a sophomore slump or do we get a step up in what he can do? And I want to see Dante Moore take another leap as well. I know people were
Mm.
high on him. I wasn't very high on him. I thought that when the competition got really tight, he was very loose with the football. He threw a couple of good passes, but a lot of it was inaccurate. A lot of it were just lollipops that were underthrown, deep balls especially. So I want to see him grow in that area. I'm hoping that Dan Lanning, Oregon can get it figured out
Yeah.
because the Big Ten is going to be a lot of fun to watch. They got 3 really good teams, and I think these are 3 actual good teams versus we've seen Penn State where it's like they're supposed to be really good, but for whatever reason they just can't put it all together. I think the Big Ten has a chance to be really entertaining
Mhm.
all season. So and UCLA is a new coach. So those are the guys that I like. Byron Brown is on my list as well. I think that he has the chance to bring that Auburn like dual threat, the Nick Marshall, the Cam Newton, like get back to what a national championship title team looks like with them, which is really good defense and a quarterback that can just move the football with his legs or with his arm. He's going to will his team to win. So I'm very much looking forward to Auburn coming up. Now, the next question you had that you received was what transfer portal rule would you implement? I think this is a really interesting one. I'll answer this one, then I'll let you go.
Yeah.
If I was going to take this one just off like top of my head, I would say I think you're allowed to be at one school per year. All right, whatever calendar year it is. So it's 2026. All right, if you whatever school you're enrolled at in 2026, you cannot leave until 2027, until January 2027. So I don't want guys playing for a school for one semester, then transferring, or you're here for summer and then you want to get into the portal for the next. No, I think you'd be at one school for an entire year before you can actually transfer. None of this transfer window stuff. One school, 1 year. What are your thoughts?
That's fair. I like that. Mine would just simply be you get one free transfer. And if you stay at one school for all 4 years, you get granted a fifth. And maybe those are two separate rules, but I think transferring one time would fix a lot of the psychological effects of the transfer portal. You know, there's that looming, lingering, dangling carrot that is the transfer portal for a lot of players, and that's an exit strategy. It's an excuse for why you didn't play. It's an excuse for me guys who are not as good as they think they are, so they want to test the transfer portal for no reason other than either not working hard or not liking your situation that you're in. And usually the grass isn't as green on the other side as people would like to think. And so when you get guys who transfer two or three times, and then Jeff Teague talked about it a lot of his podcasts, like these guys that are transferring two or three times are not even graduating.
Mhm.
And so it's putting a hindrance on a lot of these kids' real and potentially professional lives by transferring a whole bunch. And a lot of these people don't really even know it. You're leaving college without a degree, or you were in college long enough to get a master's degree and didn't get it. And so it's like, you're getting your school paid for. Why take that risk and why take that opportunity to not? So I think if you stay all 4 years at a school, redshirt or not, then you get that extra fifth year eligibility, which they're granting everybody anyway. And then you get one free chance to transfer, and then you have to sit out, whether that's a semester or an entire year, you have to sit out.
Okay, so I probably should think deeper on my response then, but what happens if a coach leaves? How does that impact your free transfer?
Well, I think that there has to be certain stipulations for the free transfer rule. The free transfer rule has to be because you don't like the situation, wrong fit, too far away from home, whatever the case may be. Now, if coach leaves, school gets hit with some scandal or some sanctions and it affects the recruiting and the future of the
Sure.
program, then sure, you get to transfer. But other than that, no.
Okay, so like a black swan. Okay. So then would you say there should be a rule around coaches leaving and the amount of players they can bring to a new
Well, I
situation?
think that the buyouts have to be a reconstructed idea. And what happens is a lot of these coaches who because it goes both ways. The coaches are always looking to upgrade their situation, but then these schools get super impatient and think that they have the next gem that's going to come in their program. And
Mhm.
so this coach gets $50 million, or this coach is, or a school is tampering with the coach, and the coach is flirting with another school. And, halfway through the season, the coach is checked out, or, the schools come to a mutual agreement that they're going to part ways. And 2 weeks later, the guy's already got a new school that he's at. I think it's tricky because the players are in a different situation than the coaches. I think there has to be some sort of contract negotiation rule where the buyout has to be a certain number based on a certain amount of years. And then I think on the coach's side, there has to be some sort of clause that, like, if you leave a school or you want to, I don't know if there's like a no-show clause or something that you can implement that makes a coach sit out for a year or a season if he so
Okay.
desperately wants to leave the school.
Okay. So we definitely need to circle back on this one and make this a fuller episode as far as how
Yeah.
we would handle this. Because the other question I have is let's say your rule does get implemented. I would call your rule a superstar unfriendly rule. And the reason for it is I think NIL for these guys would go down. If you could only transfer one time, I think the opportunities for you to make money drop as opposed to them going up. Meaning schools don't have to pay you as much money to stay because you only get one transfer. And if you've been
True.
transferred one time, then you don't necessarily have to get that second year you're there, I don't have to pay you anything because you can't transfer. You're stuck. And so I think that could be, you could inadvertently kill NIL, which some people would consider a really good thing.
Hmm.
I just think that it would be very top heavy. You get guys that would get paid a ton of money, and then nobody's going to transfer to another small school because they don't have the opportunity to go up again. So that would be very interesting to play out kind of all the scenarios. Maybe we need to have a deeper conversation
Good point.
on,
Yeah.
on that one because that's interesting.